It's fair to say that Kia has a broad range of electric vehicles. There's the large 7-seater EV9, which is a little bit like an electric Land Rover Discovery. Then there is the sporty EV6, and then there is the funky and chunky small SUV called the EV3, and then there is the slightly larger and less glamorous Niro. There is, however, one more Kia EV, and it's a bit of a forgotten sibling, a bit like Jim from The Cause, although an electric car, not a guitarist. Anyway, thankfully for Jim, albeit looking a little bit different to his sisters, he's better looking than this, the Kia Soul EV. With its jutting chin spoiler, raked back windscreen, boxy profile and oddly shaped rear light clusters, it's not exactly beautiful, but it is at least what you'd call distinctive. It is also, strictly speaking, no longer available as a new car. It was discontinued in November 2024. But what exactly is it? Well, it's sort of an SUV, sort of a small people carrier, remember those? And sort of a family hatchback. And it has the same underpinnings as a Niro EV, but the older generation, not the current generation. But fortunately, and I'm going to say a word here which is not really a proper word, I apologise for those of you that don't like proper words, that don't like non-proper words. Anyway, that was a double negative. The electric-y bits, sorry about that, are the same regardless of whether it is the old e-Niro, the new Niro EV, or the Soul EV. What you are getting is either a 39 kilowatt hour battery with a 136 horsepower electric motor with an official range of 171 miles, or a larger 64 kilowatt hour battery version with a more powerful 204 horsepower motor and a range of 280 miles. So this 2022 car is the longer range, faster model. Now, one of the downsides of being closely related to the old Niro is apparent as soon as you get in, and that's because new Kias have innovative, stylish interiors that have lots of high quality materials, whereas this comes from the generation of Kias where they weren't quite on top of their design game, so it's a little bit sombre in here. And yet, while this 10-inch colour touchscreen might seem like it's been plonked a bit carelessly in the middle of the dash, it's actually a pretty good system with decent graphics and a responsive interface. And of course, while there's built-in sat-nav and all the rest of it, there's also Apple CarPlay and Android Auto compatibility. What's more, I've got chunky dials and a physical dial for the volume control and the climate control settings here, as well as a line of shortcut buttons, which is great. It is worth saying though that unlike this car, lower spec cars get an 8-inch touchscreen and they miss out on heated leather seats, heated steering wheel and built-in sat-nav. However, whatever spec Soul you choose, you will enjoy a great view out, raised seating position and something else. Oh, and storage! Oh my goodness, how could I forget storage? And you know what, I'm going to keep that in there because I got a prompt and that's all right, I'm human, I get prompts. And there's so many bananas here, look at all this storage, 2 cup holders, a little bit of storage there, my phone's there, but I'm going to ditch the phone and have a banana there instead. And actually all the bananas will fit in here because it is so big. And what about the glove box? Yes, they'll all fit in there as well. Brilliant, okay. Bananas about bananas. Wow, that is very clean and this car park is very muddy. So I'm going to do what I'm going to call the motor point backseat hover. So I'm getting in and I'm not going to touch my muddy feet on the floor just so that the motor point valeters don't have as much work to do. Anyway, back here is very spacious considering it is such a small car. And there are 2 sets of Isofix, electric windows, power source down there, and a map pocket that nobody puts maps in. And I think I did it, but I don't know if it's sustainable to do in every single car review, although it is quite a good workout. It's clean, it's staying clean. When you first open the boot, you might think, oh my goodness, how stingy. There's only 315 litres. until you realise that this car is on the same footprint as a Volkswagen Polo. So isn't it great that the occupants get so much space, even if the boot is a little on the small side? It does, however, have an adjustable boot floor, so it is slightly larger now. However, while some electric cars give you an extra bit of luggage space at the front, which the Americans like to call a frunk, but I prefer to describe as a fruit, the Soul does not. See what I mean about this muddy car park? Anyway, that's partly because the electrical gubbins for the front charger and indeed the electric motor itself are housed under here. So there's not really much space for anything else. And when you do need to charge it up, if you plug it into a home wall box charger, it's going to take about 10 hours to get a full charge. And at a rapid charger, one capable of serving electrons at this car's maximum draw of 100 kilowatts, will charge from 10 to 80% in about 50 minutes, which is enough time to have a decent lunch. And those of you who have watched our Glasgow to Portsmouth EV versus ICE run will know that I like my food. Now, what about this car that has the smaller battery? That also takes 50 minutes because it draws at a slower maximum speed. As with most electric cars, there's no transmission to speak of and certainly no separate gear ratios. So you just turn this dial to D, which is drive, which is what we're going to do now. And in doing so, it is pretty spirited when it comes to the performance because it can get from 0 to 60 in just 7.9 seconds. That's actually quite quick. And the lower powered one takes 2 seconds longer. Acceleration tails off noticeably at higher speeds, but that is not uncommon with lower powered EVs, but it's definitely still enough to do some motorway mile munching. Away from motorway duties, there's quite a bit of body roll, but you never sense that the car is struggling to control itself on a twisty road, and the steering is light without being alarmingly so. You can also customise the brake setup depending on your tastes. The regenerative braking system can be adjusted using these paddles on the steering wheel. And if you set it up to maximum regenerative braking, you can drive the car pretty much with just one pedal. As for energy efficiency, the Soul EV is pretty impressive for such a boxy shape, even in cold conditions, which isn't ideal for EVs. You should see something close to 4 miles per kilowatt hour of energy in mixed driving conditions, which should give you an impressive real-world range in the bigger battery car of around 250 miles. It's a quirky thing, the Soul EV, but a likeable, relaxing, fairly practical one. If you want a small electric vehicle that stands out and has a good range, then the Soul EV should definitely be on your shortlist.